Welcome to Timeless Secrets, where history isn't just told, it's relived. Ancient empires, forgotten kings, and untold stories. Every episode, a new journey through time. This isn't just history, this is history reborn.
Throughout history, humanity has been captivated by the idea of lost civilizations. Mysterious societies that once thrived, only to vanish without a trace. From Atlantis to Lemuria, these tales stir the imagination, suggesting that our understanding of the past is incomplete or even deliberately distorted. Among these enigmatic civilizations, none has sparked more debate in recent years than Tartaria. Often referred to as the Tartarian Empire, this supposed global civilization appears in countless alternative history theories online. Proponents claim Tartaria was an advanced society with sophisticated technology, monumental architecture, and knowledge far beyond its time. Yet somehow, it was erased from official historical records. Mainstream historians, however, assert that Tartaria never existed as a real empire. They argue that Tartary was merely a term used in old European maps to describe poorly understood regions of Central and Northern Asia, often influenced by folklore, incomplete information, and colonial imagination. So, where does the truth lie? Was Tartaria a real forgotten superpower lost to history? Or is it a myth born from misunderstood maps and a thirst for mystery? To answer this, we must delve into the origins of Tartaria and uncover what the historical record truly reveals. The term Tartary or Tartaria has appeared in European cartography and literature for centuries. Far from referring to a single unified civilization, it was a broad label applied by Western explorers and mapmakers to vast, largely uncharted territories in Asia. Stretching from the Caspian Sea to the Pacific Ocean, Tartary encompassed Siberia, Central Asia, parts of China, and Mongolia. It was less a defined political entity and more a placeholder, a way to describe the unknown. The roots of the name are tied to the word Tartar, a term Europeans used to refer to various nomadic groups originating from Central Asia, most notably the Mongols. Following the 13th century invasions by Genghis Khan and his successors, the Mongol Empire expanded rapidly, leaving a lasting impression on the European imagination. To many in the West, this vast, foreign, and formidable force came to symbolize an entire realm of mystery and danger. As a result, the name Tartary was used indiscriminately, encompassing a wide array of ethnicities, languages, and political entities under one general label. By the Renaissance and Enlightenment eras, European mapmakers had begun to fill their world maps with increasingly elaborate depictions of Tartaria. In some maps from the 16th to 18th centuries, Tartaria is shown as a massive empire dominating the northern parts of Asia, complete with cities, rivers, and even royal courts. These depictions often included fanciful elements, giant beasts, mythical people, and golden cities, reflecting a mix of second-hand information, travelers' tales, and pure speculation. The lack of detailed knowledge about the geography and cultures of Inner Asia gave rise to a sort of cartographic myth-making. The further a place was from Europe, the more imagination filled the gaps. European cartographers like Abraham Ortelius and Gerardus Mercator, despite their groundbreaking work, sometimes relied on travelers' stories, outdated sources, or theological ideas when detailing distant lands. In this context, Tartaria became a convenient symbol of the exotic and the unknown. Yet, the appearance of Tartaria on maps was not evidence of an actual empire, but rather an artifact of European ignorance and imagination. There were no records of a centralized Tartarian government, no shared language or religion unifying the region, and no military campaigns or treaties marking it as a coherent political power. The peoples of Central and Northern Asia, Turkic tribes, Mongolic nations, Siberian nomads, had rich, diverse histories of their own, but they were lumped together under the single banner of Tartary by those who did not understand them. Thus, the origins of Tartaria lie not in the grandeur of a forgotten empire, but in the way old maps reflected European worldviews. These maps planted the seeds of legend, seeds that centuries later would bloom into one of the most fascinating and controversial alternative history theories of the modern era. From the 16th to the 18th centuries, European maps began to portray Tartaria not just as a vast and unknown region, but as a seemingly coherent empire. Cartographers such as Abraham Ortelius, Gerardus Mercator, and Guillaume de Lisle produced intricate maps that showed Great Tartary, encompassing enormous tracts of land from the Caspian Sea to the Pacific Ocean and deep into Siberia. These maps, while artistically impressive, often reflected a mixture of genuine geography, myth, and European projection. In some of these depictions, Tartaria appears as a unified and centrally governed empire, with cities labeled in Latinized or invented names. Strangely detailed architectural illustrations are often found in these maps, featuring massive buildings, walled cities, and symmetrical fortifications that bear resemblance to modern-day star forts. These geometric, star-shaped fortresses are a cornerstone in the Tartarian mystery community, who argue that such sophisticated defensive structures could not have been built with the presumed technology of the time. Another oddity is the depiction of massive palace-like structures and monumental domes, often shown in regions where historical records do not verify such development. Some theorists claim that these represent traces of advanced Tartarian architecture and lost energy technology, perhaps evidence of a forgotten society harnessing free energy. Literary references to Tartaria from European travelogues and chronicles further complicated the picture. Writers like Marco Polo and later explorers such as Anthony Jenkinson and John Bell described vast and unfamiliar territories, populated by exotic peoples and ruled by powerful khans. These first-hand accounts were often filtered through a Eurocentric lens, colored by the author's own cultural biases and limited understanding of local languages or political dynamics. The repetition of such accounts reinforced the idea of Tartaria as an enormous, unified civilization in the European consciousness, even when the information was vague or speculative. Combined with the authority of printed maps, these narratives helped solidify the image of Tartaria as a genuine empire, when in reality, they were likely describing a multitude of diverse nomadic and semi-nomadic societies. Map-making conventions of the era also played a significant role. Areas beyond European control were frequently labeled with general terms and adorned with imagined details to fill geographic blanks. The Eurocentric worldview framed Asia as exotic, untamed, and mysterious, lending credibility to the idea of a vast hidden empire. These maps and texts, never intended as literal records of a single empire, were preserved and digitized over time. In the modern age, they became the foundation upon which the Tartarian conspiracy theory would be built, misinterpreted not as speculative artifacts of early cartography, but as evidence of a lost high civilization. While the term Tartary faded from serious academic use by the 19th century, it experienced an unexpected resurgence in the digital age. In the 20th and 21st centuries, a growing subculture of alternative historians, internet researchers, and conspiracy theorists revived the legend of Tartaria. This time as a technologically advanced global civilization erased from historical records. This modern reinterpretation was shaped by the rise of online platforms. YouTube videos, Reddit threads, obscure blogs, and alternative history websites began to share old maps, photographs of strange architecture, and unusual historical anecdotes, tying them together into a compelling, if highly speculative, narrative. By the 2010s, the Tartarian Empire had become a popular topic within fringe history communities. The core claims of the theory are bold. Advocates argue that Tartaria was a global civilization with architecture that far surpassed the technological capabilities of the 18th and 19th centuries. They point to neoclassical buildings, domed structures, and enormous public edifices found in cities across the world, from Moscow to San Francisco, as alleged remnants of Tartarian engineering. These buildings, they claim, were not constructed by colonial powers, but inherited from Tartaria. One of the theory's central tenets is the concept of free energy, the idea that Tartarian architecture, especially with its spires, domes, and antennas, was designed to harness ambient energy from the atmosphere. Proponents believe that this knowledge was suppressed during a historical reset, a coordinated effort to erase Tartaria's achievements and replace them with the sanctioned narrative of modern history. This reset is often tied to the mudflood theory, explored in Chapter 4, which suggests a global cataclysm buried the cities of Tartaria and allowed a new world order to take over. Prominent voices in the Tartaria movement include YouTubers and researchers such as John Levi, Autodidactic, and Conspiracy R Us, who have produced hours of content exploring hidden history. While these individuals often caution viewers to think for themselves, their videos consistently portray Tartaria as an advanced and benevolent civilization lost to time and censorship. The internet's structure itself has helped fuel the spread of the Tartarian theory. Algorithm-driven recommendations and online echo chambers ensure that once someone engages with Tartaria content, they are shown more of the same. The theory thrives on pattern recognition, cherry-picked evidence, and a general distrust of institutional authority, especially mainstream academia, which is often accused of deliberate suppression. Though historians view Tartaria as a cartographic relic, the conspiracy continues to gain momentum, driven by a deep-seated cultural hunger for alternative explanations, hidden truths, and a re-enchantment of history in an increasingly skeptical age. One of the most dramatic elements of the Tartarian conspiracy theory is the so-called mud flood hypothesis. According to this idea, a worldwide cataclysm, natural or artificial, occurred sometime in the 18th or 19th century, burying entire cities under several meters of mud. This event supposedly wiped out the advanced Tartarian civilization, allowing modern powers to rewrite history and claim Tartarian buildings as their own creations. Believers cite architectural anomalies as primary evidence. Across cities like St. Petersburg, Paris, New York, and Istanbul, there are buildings with windows and doors that appear to be partially buried below street level. In some cases, excavations or renovations reveal subterranean floors with finished rooms and detailed masonry. These buried structures are interpreted as signs that the ground level rose suddenly, likely due to a mudflood. Photographs of 19th century construction projects and urban ruins often feature debris-filled streets, which proponents take as visual proof of a civilization being unearthed or repurposed. Architectural styles such as neoclassical, Beaux-Arts, or Greco-Roman are viewed as evidence of a single global architectural language. Believed to be Tartarian in origin, many point to buildings like the Old World Fair's grand exhibition halls, with their enormous domes and intricate detail, claiming they were not constructed in mere months for temporary exhibitions, but were rediscovered remnants of Tartaria. The demolition of these structures soon after the events is seen as further proof of a cover-up. However, most of these anomalies have plausible explanations grounded in architecture and urban development. In many cases, what appear to be buried floors are actually part of the building's design, known as English basements, which were popular in the 18th and 19th centuries. These semi-subterranean floors provided insulation and additional living space while adhering to property tax laws that taxed above-ground square footage. Similarly, windows below street level may be the result of urban renovations, regrading, or changes in infrastructure. As cities modernized, roads were paved, railways added, and sewer systems installed, often raising the ground level. Entire neighborhoods were occasionally elevated to accommodate these changes, creating the illusion that older buildings were partially buried. Historical photographs used as mud flood evidence are often misinterpreted. Streets under construction or damaged by war, earthquakes, or natural erosion can resemble scenes of post-cataclysmic ruin, especially when taken out of context. Though no geological evidence supports a global mud flood in recent centuries, the theory resonates because it provides a tangible explanation for a supposed global erasure. It gives visual anchors, sunken buildings, forgotten basements, strange urban layouts, to an otherwise speculative narrative. For believers, the mud flood is not just a disaster, but the moment the old world, the Tartarian world, was buried, both physically and historically. One of the most persistent claims of the Tartarian conspiracy theory revolves around architecture. Proponents point to grandiose buildings found across Europe, Asia, and the Americas, structures with domes, columns, spires, and intricate stonework, as relics of a lost global empire. Styles associated with Greco-Roman, Moorish, Byzantine, and Beaux-Arts architecture are often cited, especially those used in late 19th and early 20th century public buildings and world fairs. The 1893 Chicago World's Fair, known as the White City, features prominently in these theories. Tartarian enthusiasts argue that the exposition's grand pavilions, allegedly too large, too ornate, and too quickly constructed, were not built for the fair, but repurposed remnants of a forgotten civilization. Similar claims are made about structures in Paris, St. Louis, and San Francisco, suggesting a deliberate cover-up and historical reset that erased Tartaria from collective memory. Another recurring theme is the use of free energy. Some theorists assert that the ornate towers and domes of these buildings were not merely decorative but functional. Antennae designed to harness ambient etheric energy through resonant frequencies. These ideas echo the misunderstood science of Nikola Tesla, whose work is frequently invoked in Tartarian circles. However, experts push back. Architects and historians explain that the construction techniques used in these buildings, while ambitious, were well documented and consistent with the materials, labor practices, and industrial technologies of the time. World's Fair buildings were often temporary structures made of plaster and wood, meant to impress, not endure. The visual similarities across styles reflect global architectural trends, colonial influence, and the widespread adoption of neoclassical and eclectic design, rather than evidence of a global empire. While the allure of mysterious architecture and lost technology is strong, critical analysis reveals a more grounded, though no less fascinating explanation rooted in human creativity and historical context. From the standpoint of mainstream academia, Tartaria was never a real, unified empire, but rather a product of cartographic confusion and linguistic shorthand. In medieval and early modern maps, Tartari, or Tartaria, was a catch-all term used by Europeans to describe vast, poorly understood regions of Asia inhabited by Turkic and Mongolic peoples, such as the Tatars. It was not meant to indicate a single polity or culture. Historical records, archaeological data, and genetic studies all point to the development of distinct civilizations across Central Asia, such as the Mongol Empire, the Timurid dynasty, and various Turkic khanates. None of these entities bore resemblance to the monolithic, technologically advanced civilization proposed by Tartarian theorists. World maps evolved over time as European explorers, missionaries, and scholars gained more accurate knowledge of Asia. What was once called Tartaria gradually broke into more precise names reflecting real nations, ethnic groups, and political entities. The fading of Tartaria from maps represents the expansion of knowledge, not a cover-up. So why do some reject this explanation? The answer lies partly in psychology and cultural currents. In an age of institutional distrust and algorithmic echo chambers, many find comfort in narratives that challenge the status quo. The idea of a lost golden age hidden from us by elites taps into both nostalgia and rebellion. It offers a sense of secret knowledge and the thrill of discovery, an appeal that traditional history sometimes lacks. Nonetheless, historians stress the importance of rigorous evidence and contextual understanding. While alternative views can raise interesting questions, they must be weighed against the overwhelming body of documented evidence accumulated through centuries of scholarly work. The legend of Tartaria endures not because of what it reveals about history, but because of what it reveals about us. It speaks to a longing for lost knowledge, a yearning for grandeur, and a deep mistrust of the narratives handed down to us. In an era of rapid change and digital overload, Tartaria offers a romanticized vision of the past, one where beauty, technology, and harmony once reigned before being unjustly buried. But the line between myth and history is often faint. While critical thinking and evidence-based research remain essential, it's also important to recognize the emotional and imaginative pull that such myths exert. Whether real or imagined, Tartaria challenges us to ask deeper questions. What do we truly know about our past, and why are we so eager to rewrite it? In the end, perhaps the greatest mystery isn't Tartaria itself, but our enduring desire to find wonder in the shadows of forgotten time.